There's a moment when the sun disappears, when darkness falls and you're left with just your fears. That's the moment you feel your first pang of doubt. That's the moment when the night comes out. When the Night Comes Out presents Luckman. You are about to meet a man named Harvey Luckman. Yes, his last name is Luckman. A man known for bringing, well, amazing luck to everyone around him. However, there's a secret he carries with him. A secret from which he is running for his life. The kind of luck that only comes when the night comes out. So here's the deal. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to get the introduction out of the way. My name is Harvey Luckman. Yeah, I know, it's a weird last name, lived with it all my life. The honest truth is that my life is even stranger than my last name. See, I'm a lucky guy. Wait, before you shrug and sigh and throw up your hands and walk away, let me explain further. I've always been a lucky guy to have around. My friends were always winning baseball games with impossible plays or last-minute walk-off home runs. If my friends were playing games and I was nearby, they'd win. I have always brought luck to those around me. So why am I not hugely rich? Why do I have a shitty job and a small house in the middle of nowhere? Why do I spend my time away from other people as much as possible? The hitch in this weird genetic quirk is that I bring tremendous luck to people around me, but never to myself. In fact, whenever I bring good luck to someone else, an equal amount of bad luck has to happen to me. The universe wants a balance, and that's how this works, you see? Yeah, I know, it's shitty. Want to hear the next shitty part? I have no control over it. The good luck just happens, and then the bad happens to me. Most of the time, I get a weird tingly sensation when it's happening, but it seems to happen whether I want it to or not. What a pisser, huh? I remember when I was 13, there was this stupid contest at school. You could win a new bike if you guessed the closest number to this jar filled with marbles. The damn jar sat at the entrance to the school and no one knocked the damn thing over somehow. My best friend Stevie wanted that bike so badly. He spent days trying to come up with numbers to guess. The day before the contest was to end, I patted him on the back and told him to write down the first number that came to his head. He did. The next day, they revealed he was off by only 4 marbles. That night, on the way home from school, feeling happy for my friend, I ran over a nail. My front tire popped, hit a curb. I flew over the handlebars and landed on my leg so hard it cracked. Then, a truck came by and ran over my bike, mangling it. I helped Stevie win a bike, but dramatically lost my own. I spent weeks in a cast. Stevie rode by on his sparkly new bike almost every day while I healed. It hurt and took weeks, and it removed a sizable part of my summer vacation while I recovered. Of course, at the time, I did not know this was a power or an ability. It just seemed like a random coincidence, and it was bad for me. Oh well, go on. However, before too long, my reputation grew. It was my mom who first tried to take advantage of me. I don't know how she heard about the rumors of me being a good luck charm, but one night she asked me to come with her to bingo night. This had never happened before, and I was all of about 10 years old. The last place I wanted to be on a Friday night was the local church basement while older ladies played the game. She leaned in, her marker in hand, at least a dozen cards spread out in front of her, and whispered, "Could you let a bit of luck rub off on me, Harv?" I just smiled and said yes, even though I had no idea how to go about doing that. Like I said, I didn't have any control over it. I just wanted my mom to do well. Well, she won that night. I mean, she won big. It seemed every round she was the first one to stand up and say bingo. So much so, the rest of the group started casting angry stares at her. Soon after the last round, the others at the bingo night gathered around our table. My mom yelled at them for being sore losers while they hurled accusations of cheating at both of us. Even though these were mostly ladies in their 60s or older, I was getting scared. My mom pushed through the crowd, got her big cash prize and some of the other things we'd won, and we hightailed it out of there, peeling out of the parking lot onto the road. Once there, still driving too fast and high on her wins, we were T-boned at a four-way stop my mom blew right through. Of course, the oncoming car hit my side, caved in the door, and sent me sideways before the entire car went spinning around like a crazy top. I was hurt pretty bad. I broke my leg, again. Mom was fine, but much of the prize money went to medical bills and getting the car fixed. It was Mom who first proposed the idea that maybe I was blessed and cursed at the same time. I could bring luck, but had to receive all the bad. Did that stop her from wanting to keep winning at bingo and all the other gambling she could get to? No way. She just kept the winning to a minimum, leaving early from other bingo games, and drove home safe. She set up my room with padding on the walls and did everything she could to guard me from harm. I still would slip in the bathroom, trip going down the stairs, or stub my foot into the legs of the coffee table and break a couple of toes. So my mom and I basically ended up on some kind of twisted gambling/bingo circuit. Since I couldn't really control how much she won most of the time, we could only visit the casinos or the bingo halls maybe once or twice. Then, of course, there were the repercussions. My mother could not very well take me to an emergency room. They all had rules about abused kids, and I was so covered with cuts, bruises, and badly healed broken limbs, there was no way to explain it away as childhood clumsiness. Plus, what was she going to tell them? Oh yeah, I was touring various casinos and gambling establishments with my preteen son. My mom and dad made a lot of money. We also won cars, trips, and other big deal things, so we always had the latest technology, such as TVs, game consoles, computers, etc. As for me, if my parents gave me part of the winnings, I'd end up mugged or a kid at school would push me down and take it. They would win, and I would lose. Balance. Balance sucks. I hate balance, to the point where I hate scales and teeter-totters. Do you have any idea of how hard it was to not have a goal in life? I mean, I was good at building things with my hands. It was the one time I felt in control of things. With my eyes closed, I could take apart an appliance or electronics and put them back together. I was also good at inventing things, improving our old TV so the reception was perfect. This was back when he still had rabbit ears or an antenna on the roof, kiddos. 5 years before it was a thing everyone had, I figured out a version of Wi-Fi. The problem was I couldn't be around people or try to make money with the inventions. If I showed the new and improved versions of whatever I'd been working on, it would be stolen and someone else would become rich. If I worked in an office, the entire company would rocket to success while I lost my car, house, clothes, and sanity. I was eventually pulled out of school. I learned at home. I began doing repairs for people and made sure to just keep the devices running, not advancing them. I made a living before I was college age, and when my parents got older and passed, I inherited the money. Somehow, most of the money stayed. Perhaps the universe figured losing my parents to get it was not good luck. You'd have to ask the universe about that, because there was no explanation given to me. If you do talk to the universe, give me the number, because I have a few choice words. I made sure not to get involved in investing the money. I left it to the broker. He had success, and it trickled to me. I kept things level. I told the broker I wanted to be the safest and most boring client he had. As long as I did not try to level up, everything went well. As long as I kept to myself as much as possible, things were good. Was I lonely? Yeah, sure I was. But what could I do? As I got older, my abilities grew. I didn't even need to be near the person to infect them with luck. I just had to think about it. So no sports teams to root for, not for me. Once I wished one of my favorite actors would win an award. He did, but the next day I fell through the floor of my house down to the first floor and fractured my femur. Again! Spent months with a cast up to my goddamn hip. Ever fractured your femur before? It's not nice. I've done it 6 times. I keep quiet. I don't wish people well. With practice, you can learn not to have hope for people. Sounds sad, I know, but I only have 2 femurs. I'm here, living my lonely, insignificant life, just trying not to break any more bones or have random meteors crash on my head, when the DeMille family moves in across the street. Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, so the term street is a bit of hyperbole. It's a big front lawn, then a small blacktop road, and then another vast lawn, and then a small farmhouse. I saw them move in, but tried hard not to wish them well. They seemed nice, but I didn't want to get involved. Then, one morning, I'm out in my shed working on a lawnmower and trying to mind my business, when I hear something behind me. I turn around and there's this adorable little tow-headed girl holding a stuffed dog and smiling at me. Well, hello, I said, trying hard not to instantly adore this cutie. Can I help you? My name's Angela. We just moved in across the street. What you doing? I couldn't help but smile. It was that smile that got me where I am right now, I think. If I had just shut the shed door and been the mean neighbor, maybe none of this would have happened. I'm fixing a lawnmower, I replied. Hey, do your mom and dad know you're over here? She ignored the question and stood on her tiptoes to try and see the lawnmower. Did you break it? Well, no, I run a business. I fix things for people. Someone else broke it and I'm fixing it. This caused her eyes to light up as if I had just produced a live rabbit out of my shirt. Wow, can you fix anything? I shrugged. If it has electronics in it, probably. Just then, I heard a woman's voice calling for Angela. Think that's your mom. Let me help you back across the street. The little girl just grabbed hold of my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. I worried that this was too much contact. Was I infecting her with luck? What about her mom? It didn't matter, of course. I am terrified of the world, but I'm not a monster. I was going to help a little kid get back to her home and her parents. Although the country road was not always busy, when traffic came, it was usually as trucks and cars speeding across the asphalt. She wouldn't have stood a chance. Hi there, I said, trying on my best smile once I had crossed the road like the proverbial chicken. I believe this one belongs to you. The young woman, as blonde as the girl, looking like an older version of Angela, smiled and looked relieved. Then, with relief over with, she appeared slightly mortified. I am so sorry. Angela, I told you not to cross that road by yourself. Angela smiled, looked down at her shoes, but then winked at me. Sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry about that. I know you have work to do. They told us you keep to yourself and run a repair business over there. She wanders. I'm so sorry. I held up my hands. Nothing to worry about. No harm done. Just make sure, little lady, you do not cross the road like that. Cars and trucks come down there really fast, and they'll never see a little squirt like you in the road. Angela smiled sheepishly. My name is Jessica DeMille. Jess, to my friends. She extended a hand. A dangerous thing happened then. Something I had been fighting by being isolated as much and for as long as possible happened. I felt warm and fuzzy toward another person. The cute girl and the pretty lady made it impossible for me to stop it. I extended my own hand. Harvey Luckman. Jess gave me the traditional cockeyed look upon hearing my name. Yes, that's my real name. I was trying to come up with a reason to make my exit as quickly as possible. I already knew the warm and fuzzies were triggering the luck powers. If I liked someone, it was out of my hands. Good luck would flow from me into them, and the bad would come down hard on my head. Jess was faster than me. I was rusty, to say the least. You have to come over for dinner tonight. Meet my husband, Daniel. She knew I lived alone. She knew I had a business of my own, thus I was the boss and made my own hours. How could I say no? I had no excuse other than being a jerk, and I did not want to be a jerk to this woman and her little girl. What time? And there you go. You get where this is headed. That night, the DeMille family had me over, and Jess told me she had found a ring from her mother she thought was lost forever. That night, I lost my TV remote, and I never found it again. Small, but it gave me a sick feeling inside. It was like the power had been asleep, but was now waking up. Start with a little thing, then really kick into gear. I had a sumptuous dinner. We laughed a lot. The husband, Daniel, was also a great guy. He was a pilot, it turned out. Mostly, he did short flights from a local municipal airport. He transported business executives from one place to another, working for a charter airline he had started with a business partner. He had loved flying from the time he was a kid, so this was his dream. He got to be home every night and spend his days in the sky. More danger. A risky job. And I liked the guy and his family. I could almost feel the luck inside me boiling up. That night, Daniel got a huge paid gig for the next day. A client he and his business partner had been pursuing for months signed on. The next day, 2 of my biggest paying clients died in an apartment fire. Yeah, the luck thing can be a real bitch. It'll slap me, but outright punch someone else in the dick to ensure my slap hurts. I did my best to remain quiet and keep to myself. However, little Angela was always waving to me and always wanting to come over. I tried to ignore her. I swear to you, I tried to leave her be and pretend the family wasn't even there. In the end, how could I resist? Soon I was helping her come across the street and she would watch me work. She'd ask me a billion questions, and I did my best to keep her entertained. She seemed quite interested in what I was working on, so I would show her. Then Dan would come over at night, beers in hand most of the time. We'd sit on my back porch and look up at the stars. He told me about his youthful desire to be an astronaut, how he had dreamed of rocket ships to Mars. He also told me about his dream of building his own airplane. He had thoughts and plans for a new jet design and dreams of finally putting them into action. He spoke glowingly of these ideas. I felt that sinking feeling again. I liked the guy. I was a frightened man who had lived a terrified life, but there had been a time when I had dreams too. Maybe not to visit other planets, but dreams nonetheless. I knew I'd put some luck into him. I would infect him like a virus. Something would happen and his plane designs would come to life. He'd change aviation. With luck that big, I feared what would befall me. To my surprise, nothing happened. I was expecting a tornado to hit my house or a random meteor to just fall on my shed, but nope. In fact, I got 2 new business clients who were more lucrative than the 2 who had died. Shit, I was not about to dance on their graves, but if this was the price, I was for it. Sure enough, Daniel got a huge windfall. The big clients came rolling in, and they had to expand the charter plane service. They hired 2 new pilots, and he could pull back his hours, work on his own plane designs, but also still manage the company. Freakishly good things kept happening, of course, because I had infected the DeMille family with luck. Random relatives they never knew they had died and left them huge amounts of money. Jess could not buy a losing scratch-off lottery ticket. A stock investment they made decades ago on a startup suddenly paid off when the startup became huge. They cashed out half their stock and saved a huge bundle. The entire time, I kept waiting to lose all of my business. I waited to have the bank foreclose or for a goddamn truck to just run me down in my own driveway. It did not happen. We had glorious weather. The skies were clear, got enough rain to avoid a drought. The summer got warm, but not too hot. Yeah, to be honest, I dared hope things were better for me. Maybe the power just wore off, I thought. Or maybe whatever piece of crap part of the universe had seen fit to give me this stupid ability had finally relented. Give me a break, you know? Would I be telling you this story if that were the case? Would I still be talking? Nope. The universe was just as cruel as always, perhaps more so. You see, that's the truth of it all. When you stare at yourself in the mirror every morning, you think you've got things figured out. Even if you have a fucked up ability like mine, you get used to things. In the trenches of World War I, soldiers adapted to dead men by making them part of the trench wall. They slept in puddles of water up to their knees. I had a friend growing up who lived right next door to a major airport, and you just got used to the planes taking off and landing. I had just gotten used to the bad luck hitting me. I expected it. I did my best to plan for it, even though I never knew what would happen. I built my life around this, and when it was suddenly gone, I had almost no idea what to do with myself. And it went on for a year. Yeah, an entire year. Just enough time for me to become comfortable. Just enough time for me to think it was over. Just enough time for me to let my guard down. 1 year later, after becoming almost a part of their family, Daniel had his plane built and was ready to fly. Yeah, it was a big fucking deal. Like, the press was there and they were taking pictures and shit. Feel me? The first flight was a colossal success. The plane was some hybrid thing using electricity and a lot less fuel. Don't ask me. I can fix things as long as the things are like lawnmowers. I don't do planes or claim to understand aerodynamics. The plane continued to fly, and there were orders for the fancy new engine or whatever. I kept my head down, kept doing repairs, and tried my best to keep working on the things I needed to work on. My customer base was growing. It was great. Of course, it ended almost a year to the day. Daniel announced he and his family were going to fly off to California for a week. To my surprise, they asked me to go. I was shocked. I also felt a shock of pure terror run right through me. It started with me checking the calendar. Sure enough, a year. Just 365 days of happiness with no broken bones or major hospital stays. Just 12 months of achieving success and some form of contentment. So, of course, the universe was going to take that away from me. It was here when I needed to decide. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that something was going to go horribly wrong on this flight. If I didn't go, it would happen and the luck would not occur. If I went, I knew there would be an extremely unlikely piece of luck, but it would also come back against me. And if the luck would prevent injury or death for the DeMilles, well, I think you can guess what this was going to mean for me. I sat there, a stupid smile on my face, when Daniel asked me to go with. In my mind, I weighed the options. Then I thought of their little girl. I thought about Jess and how I had become such a part of their family. I'd love to go, I told him. There it was. I knew then I was in trouble. What would you do? I did my best to put my affairs in order. I had no family, and the only friends were the DeMille family, so they got whatever money I had should I die. Angela would have a trust fund so she could go to college or do whatever she wanted with it. I'm not telling you this so that you feel sorry for me. I'm not looking for an, "oh, you poor soul." Nor am I looking for your pat on the back or some Nobel Peace Prize either. I am no hero. If you think even for a second I didn't spend days thinking about how to get out of this, you are sorely mistaken. I tried to think of a way to save myself while also saving the family. I mean, I thought about sneaking into the airport or hangar to sabotage the plane so it just couldn't take off. But I was hardly a member of the Mission Impossible team. I had never broken into my own home, let alone a secured location. I thought about trying to sabotage the DeMilles themselves. Maybe I could start a small fire, damage their car. Yeah, but there was too much risk to hurting them, you know? What it came down to was that the only way I could ensure the good luck would infect them in a way which would ensure they all survived was to go with them. Because I had seen, with my own eyes, how the universe worked my luck power. Impossible things happened. It was not outside the realm of possibility that a giant hand would just come out and grab the aircraft out of the air and set it down on the ground. The same hand would then squish me like a bug. I was just resigned. I don't know for sure how someone with a fatal illness feels when all the options run out, but I hope they reach the level I did. I was scared, don't get me wrong, but I was also at peace. I figured I could do at least one good thing before I checked out. So the day came. I laughed and joked with the family. I entertained Angela with my impersonations of animals and cartoon characters. We had a blast all the way to the airport. I was calm. We got there, all piled out of the car, got to the plane. I saw them loading some luggage. The plane itself was gorgeous, sleek, almost like a mini Concorde. The engines looked so small. It amazed me what Daniel had built. I was dazzled by the business he had built too. The plane rumbled down the runway. The sun was bright. Above us, the endless expanse of blue was like a personal invitation from God. I did my best to absorb it, take it in. It was hard because Angela wanted to play peekaboo. The earth fell away beneath us. I watched it go, with everything getting smaller and smaller in that magical way flying in a plane does, like standing above a model train set, up and up. We leveled off just above 20,000 feet. Clouds fitted beneath us like cotton. It wasn't long after that before things went wrong. The right engine made a noise you never want to hear from a plane engine. Then smoke steamed from the wing. The entire plane shuddered. I saw the fear cross both Jess and Angela's face. Then, just as I was about to speak, the engine on the left did the same as its twin. The entire cabin shuddered once more. Then, it was eerily quiet. Jess and Angela screamed and cried. They talked over each other so fast, I couldn't make out any sound. Daniel did not come out of the cockpit, and I knew he was going to try to go down with his plane. I couldn't let that happen. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. "Open that closet door," I pointed, my eyes still closed. "What?" Jess replied. "Open the door, quick, now." I could already feel the plane gliding, but heading down fast. Dimly, through the cockpit door, I could hear Daniel calling out his maydays and trying to figure out how to save a hopeless situation. "Why? There's just our coats in there." It was true. We had opened the closet earlier and put away some things. Mostly, it was towels. I knew there was nothing in there to save us when we got on. But now, the luck infection was in full effect. "Just do it. Please, quick." Jess opened the door, and what appeared to be several parachutes fell out onto the floor. She gasped. "These were not in there before." She stared at me. I smiled. "I know. Put that one on." Still in shock, Jess put on the parachute. I helped her get it secured, just somehow knowing how to do it. Sure enough, there was a series of buckles and harnesses to allow Angela to be strapped to her mother. I don't even know if such parachutes exist, but when the world was bending to the luck virus, it didn't matter. I picked Angela up, kissed the end of her nose, and strapped her in. I can't leave without Daniel," Jess said, her eyes wide and appearing in shock. Angela had stopped crying too. Her eyes were wide. I think they felt this power, this energy, the fact reality itself was bending over backwards to change, coming from me. I know, I replied. The plane was still descending. This was okay, I thought. If they jumped too high, they would suffocate. We had to get lower. I walked to the cockpit. Daniel was in there, frantically trying to restart his burned-out engines. Even the radio was no longer working. Daniel. He turned his head, and I saw tears streaming down his face. "What have I done?" he asked. I held up the parachute. "What is that?" he asked, the confusion cutting through the fear. "Put it on. Your family's waiting for you." Daniel stood up from the controls. Out the window, the ground was getting larger and closer. The plane was remarkably stable, though, gliding in a way that would only happen if you were a man who infected reality with luck, I suppose. "I don't understand," Daniel said, but he took the parachute. I helped him strap it on. "I know you don't, but you and your family will be fine." I led Daniel back out, opened the door, and the wind cut through the cabin. It slapped me in the face, and I saw fear in their eyes again. "Just jump," I said. "The chutes will open automatically." I was dictating the reality, I thought. This was my last hurrah. I knew it. All the luck within me was flowing out into this family, into the plane. Without a line to attach to, there was no reasonable way for the chutes to open automatically. These were not experienced skydivers, though, so the chutes needed to open on their own. The family was terrified. I was too, and despite this, they moved to the door. I could see a mountain range now, all of it coming too fast. Jess and Angela came first, eyes wide, shaken. "What about you?" Jess asked. "Don't worry about me." I put a hand on Angela's cheek. I smiled at her, and she smiled back. Then I pushed them out the door. I heard Jess yell as they flew away from the plane. As soon as they were clear, a chute unfurled above them. Lucky. Impossible luck. Daniel came next. Tears were drying on his cheeks. "I don't understand. I don't understand any of this." "Go. Go now." I pushed him too. I watched from the open door as his chute opened and he fell away. I turned back toward the cabin. To my surprise, there was another parachute on the floor. I smiled a crooked grin, slipped it on. I jumped, and of course, my chute didn't open instantly. When I pulled the ripcord, a flap opened and clothing flew out of it, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. I had to laugh. The plane crashed into the mountain a moment later. So, here I am, falling through the sky. I'm too far away from the DeMilles to see if they landed safe, but they had the luck, you know. I'm sure they made it. You know, it's kind of a relief. It's hard to face yourself every day and know the only way to make it to the next day is to not help people. The ground is coming up fast. I think I see trees. The sad life of a man with an ironic last name. A life of fear and pain. Then of isolation and selfishness. Finally ending on a note of hope and perhaps salvation. The kind of ending you can only find when the night comes out. You've been listening to When the Night Comes Out, a weekly horror anthology podcast with stories by Bryan W. Alaspa and narrated and produced by Allie James. Music by Vivek Abhishek. For Bryan's work, visit his website at bryanwalaspa.com or visit amazon.com for his books of fiction and nonfiction. For Allie's work, find her on Facebook at Allie James Projects. Don't forget to check out our website, whenthenightcomesout.com, to learn how to support us on Patreon.